Hi, I'm the bearded grease monkey. Today I'm going to show you how to change the brakes on a 2013 Chrysler 200. Um, the brakes have started to have a pulse when you went to go to stop, so that's the reasoning for changing them. This vehicle has 28,000 miles on it. It's still a relatively new vehicle, but I'll show you the proper way to change out the brakes. It's a what you're going to need is some basic hand tools. You're going to need a 19mm socket and breaker bar, or I'm going to be using impact and air tools and stuff. But you're going to need a 19mm to take the lugs off, to get the wheel off. Then you're going to need a 14mm, and you're also going to need an 18mm socket and ratchet. The brakes that I'm using, I got them right straight from the dealer. Made in USA, Mopar product. Same thing with the pads. They're made in USA. Made in USA, Mopar product. I'm a big fan of made in USA products. I'm not a big fan of the offshore products, but it's a easy process, and I'll walk you through the steps. Just going to readjust the camera. I'll apologize in advance that my neighbor decided to cut his grass at the same time that I went to go do this video. But I'll get this wheel off. The impact that I use is a Ingersoll Rand Thunder Gun. It's a very nice impact. It has a lot of power. What you do is you get the vehicle up on all, get the front end up off of the ground. I like to get both tires off the ground, so then you can easily manipulate the steering suspension, so then you can easily get at the stuff and have easier access to move stuff around. Let me get this caliper off. Again, I'm using an Ingersoll air ratchet. Just want to break the caliper bolts. There's two caliper bolts, and there's a caliper bracket bolt. You just want to get those loose. Now my compressor decided to go off. When you take the pins out, you want to get them out so they, and then lay them down so when you go to put it back together, the same pin goes in the same location. Take a screwdriver, and there's a piston inside of the caliper that you want to compress. So the caliper comes off. Some people wire tie the caliper up out of the way, but I find that you just situate it just right, won't move. I use the 14mm to get those two pins out. Now I'm going to be using the 18mm to get the caliper bracket off. Again, situate the bolts so they go back in the same location. caliper bracket loose, and the whole assembly comes out. It's got the pads still in it. You want to make note of that the indicator, that's the wear indicator, so when you go to, so when the pads get low, the indicator right there will start screeching on you, and that obviously goes towards the inside of the car. So I'll take these pads out. I got the caliper bracket off. There's some slides right here. These come with the new pads. Just want to take those out. Get those out of the way. And with a new vehicle, these are the factory rotors. See that they're on there. So you just give it some good wax. And it loosens it up. Just give it a couple of good whacks. Try to avoid hitting the lug nuts so then you don't roll the threads or anything like that. And you get that off. And it's still in really good shape. There's a little bit of a lip. More on the piston side, but it's not bad. But again, they're warped. They got a little hot. I live up in the mountains. So now I got that off. What I like to do is I take some anti-seize. I put it on the hub right here, just to in the future when I go to do brakes in the future, that it'll easily come off of that hub, so maybe I don't have to give it a couple of good whacks. And since I got the anti-seize out, put it on the threads and the lug nuts. So when I go to take the wheels off in the future, they come off. I just put a little bit there. Now I'm ready for the new rotor. Just go ahead and take it out of the packaging. I got the rotor, and you see I'm handling the surface of it. That is not what you're supposed to be doing. Take a rag with some brake clean on it. I already had brake clean on, sprayed onto this rag. You wipe off the surface. It gets off any anti-rust prevention that the factory puts on, and gives you a good clean surface for when you go to seat your new pads into the rotors, that you don't glaze them over or anything like that. So I just go ahead and wipe that off. And now I'm not touching the machine surface. And you can just go ahead and put that on. I take my caliper bracket, take the bolts, and inside the box with the new pads, I got those new clips, the new slides that I took off previously. Go ahead and they just clip right in. clip right in. I use this stuff called Siliglide. It's a brake lubricant. Helps with anti-squealing. It helps the pads move freely and all that fun stuff. So you just go ahead and put that on the slides. Anywhere there's going to be a moving part. And just spread that. Spread that in there. Get everything nice and lubricated. Take those bolts. And again, I like to use anti-seize. Anti-seize is the best. It lubricates the threads when you go to install it, and then it also keeps it from seizing up on you over time with the road salts up here. You know, again, I live in the mountains. I live in a snowy climate, so that stuff rusts up pretty quick up here. You anti-seize the threads. Take the bracket, put it back on. I put it in just so it starts. I'll take the other one. And I just put it in until it starts. And you just go ahead and tighten those up. There is a torque spec for it, but not really quite sure of the torque spec. I tighten it up till it's tight, and then I just make sure it's tight. It's a pretty heavy duty bolt. You really can't strip it unless if you cross thread it, but as long as you got the bolt started, it should go in pretty easily, and then you just make sure it's tight. Do it evenly. You don't want to tighten one and then go to tighten the other one. You just want to bring the one snug and then bring the other one snug and then tighten them up, just so the alignment of this is correct. That's pretty tight. It's really all that it needs. Then you take the pads. Take the brand new pads. It comes with a little wear indicator. You put it on the one pad, the way that the original one was, which was on the back side. So I got this one. I put it in the same location. Yep. Put it in the same location on the back side. And just for a little extra reassurance, put a little bit more Siliglide just on those outer two tangs, just to add a little extra lubrication. And I put a smear on the back side. There's a piston inside of here, and it helps with the anti-squealing. When you go to hit the brakes, you don't want the brakes to be squealing or anything like that. We'll just go ahead and slide that in. And I'll do the same thing with this one, but this one doesn't get that little clip. I'll put a smear on the back. There is an anti-rattle plate right there. You can see a little bit of a plate right there. That's just that's an anti-rattle. It's supposed to help with that squealing, but again, a little lubrication doesn't hurt nothing. got that in. And then I'm ready to install the caliper. But when you go to do that caliper, these pads have worn, so that piston is now extended. So to get it back, use a good sized C-clamp. You take it and you put this in here. Put it on the outside of the caliper where it's not going to damage nothing. You want to hit a spot where it's not damaging nothing. But you see right here, I got the C-clamp inside of this piston. The piston's right here. You just want to compress that piston. Just squeeze that in, pushes that piston back in, just so it clears the new pads. You just go ahead and slide that on. There's boots right here. You just want to make sure you don't damage those boots or in any way. So when I pick the bolts up, I start with that top one. This was the first one that I took out. It was the first one that I laid down the way I laid it down. This pin slides inside of here, so you want to lubricate that so everything slides freely. You just use a little bit of Siliglide, spread it around. Can't use too much. If you use too much, it just squeezes out. No big deal. And there's threads here that thread inside of here. And again, a little anti-seize. It helps for disassembly in the future. You just put a little anti-seize in it. And you put the pin in. You gotta get inside of that hole. You get it just started. Doesn't need to be overly tight or anything like that. And you do the same thing with the other pin. Just put some Siliglide on it, some really good stuff. And a little bit of anti-seize. On the threads. You put it in that hole. Just so it starts. And you use a 14mm again for those. And you just snug them up. That's it, the brakes are done. I got the new rotor in. When you go to put the tire on, that'll align that onto your wheel hub there. And you just take the rag. Watch out for the rotor. You just wipe any of that extra Siliglide that sprayed out. At that point, you know, when you're driving down the road, that stuff will just spray on the inside, and you don't want that. You don't want any of that. Just make sure it's clean. You just, again, don't touch the rotor. Straighten the wheel back out. Go ahead and put the wheel back on. I like to use my legs. It helps stabilize the wheel, get it straight. You just put the wheel back on. Get all 5 lug nuts hand tight. And then with this, I won't use the impact to tighten this down. Use a hand ratchet. You start it out. Get the one so it's tight. Just so it's snug. And then you do a crisscross pattern when you go to tighten it. Typically, I like to torque my wheels. I do my torque spec anywhere between 75 to 100 foot-pounds with a half-inch impact. A half-inch torque wrench. Just 75 to 100 foot-pounds of torque is all that it needs. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'll go ahead and put this wheel on, and that was how to change the brakes on a 2013 Chrysler 200. And I should, I do all my own mechanic work. So as situations arise with this vehicle, I'll go ahead and do a video. But the best bet when you go to do brakes like this, since you got the wheel off, take a look at everything. Take a look at your strut, take a look at your tie rods and your ball joint and all that stuff. And if you have any serviceable, like where you can put a grease fitting on it, go ahead and grease all those fittings. Put fresh grease in there so it helps with the wear down the road, and help maintain your vehicle so you get many years out of it, many miles. But yeah, that's it. And stay tuned for more videos from the Bearded Grease Monkey. Thank you for watching.